What's up guys, today I'm talking about bulking and cutting for powerlifting, namely my bulk to fill out the 120 kilo class, and the cut I'm doing to lean out before going back up. I'm down just over 16 pounds from my heaviest in just over 4 weeks already. I'm going to go over the basics of cutting and bulking and how to plan long term for maximizing your lifting progress. Now first, why bulk in the first place? Simply put, long-term progress as a strength athlete is for the most part simply more muscle. In fact, it's responsible for up to 90% of variation in strength gain over the long term for an individual. I know some people have tried to claim bulking is vaulted, relied on mechanistic data, but looking at actual outcomes, yes, bulking does accelerate muscle gain. However, we don't want to just go full dreamer bulk and get morbidly obese to add 20 pounds to our squat. So how fast should we bulk? Well, probably pretty slow. This study found no real benefit beyond the 5% caloric surplus. In other words, beyond the small surplus, most is just going to be fat. It simply takes time to build muscle, and going too fast with your bulk doesn't help. Now, fat can help our strength a bit. That has been shown in this study. It helps internal and external leverages, and that's why I bulked fast into my meat. But if you don't have short to medium term performance goals, there's no real benefit to extra fast bulking, especially as you'll need to cut that fat later, which may impair gains. Thus, you're hurting yourself spending more time having to be in a deficit. Speaking of which, now let's talk about deficits. A lot of people worry about losing muscle in a deficit, and science-based creators often mention this meta-analysis finding 500 calorie deficits are the point past which you start to lose lean mass. But keep in mind, that's lean mass, not all of which is muscle. Also, the average age in this meta-analysis was 60. Many were dealing with diseases. They didn't account for protein or sleep, which can both significantly affect muscle loss. Higher body fat percentages also attenuate muscle loss, and they're doing research or design programs that aren't necessarily optimal. So my educated guess is if you keep all of these in check, you would be able to do at least 1,000 calorie deficit sustainably, and I'm doing 2,000. Cutting a bit quicker lets me spend more time in the bulk, so if I lose a bit more muscle, it can be outweighed by more time bulking. So how do you actually tell if you're cutting too fast? Well, track your performance. I haven't really had any issues on my big 3 list with my large deficit, though it is short term, but lifts like squat, bench, and deadlift can be influenced by body leverages, so I actually use things like triceps extensions where body leverage doesn't play a big role. Plus, it's easier to do accessories closer to or at failure, so easier to tell your exact strength versus trying to say max out your deadlifts every week to see how your progress is doing. Similarly, I see a lot of people cut their workload when cutting, assuming you need to because of less energy. This is bad. It's better to be reactive than proactive with programming, that is, react to how you actually feel. Trying to predict how you feel at best will be lucky and get things right, but more likely be inaccurate to your actual needs. Plus, there's evidence cutting volume does not help gains in a deficit anyways. So, putting this all together, practically speaking, I usually say aim for 250 calorie surpluses, half pound per week, unless you have a performance goal that's worth extra fat to you. Weigh yourself first thing in the morning after using the bathroom, but before eating or drinking anything to be consistent, and track the trend over 2 weeks before adjusting. Way too many people over-adjust due to short-term changes from gut content and water weight. Then for cuts, again, I'd go for fast and short, 1,000 to 2,000 calorie deficits depending on what you can handle and how much you have to lose. And if you do a slow bulk, you shouldn't gain a ton of fat anyways. So if you do an aggressive cut, it shouldn't have to take too long. I do cycles of this over time to gain more and more weight. Your personal leanness goals will depend how much you're going to cut and bulk exactly. So that's basically it, guys. See the pinned comment or description for where to contact me for coaching and programs, my other socials, and links to all claims made. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And once again, thanks for watching.